And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're at on this day. This is Keith Hooper along with our good friend John Solider, and we are once again going into Moving Up 2020, and we are now to Chapter 3. Direct selling can be a way to wealth or a way to financial independence, John, and I think that those are some things we want to encourage people. Once again, go to Amazon. There's a link in the video below, the link in this video, follow it over, order the book. Get it on any of the other ways there that it's available. But it's important to educate yourself, and it's important to understand what the difference is between, going door to door and what we're doing, John, here in network marketing and leveraging contact capital and time of the efforts that we put in to get where we're at in our lives.
Well, the title of this chapter, right? Direct selling, right? A way to wealth. Let's describe wealth. Wealth is not necessarily an amount. If we were talking to, we talked about Jeff Bezos on a prior call. Wealth to Jeff Bezos is a much different thing than it is to even a person who's become a millionaire in life, right? Because when a guy's got billions of dollars versus millions of dollars. Here's my point. You don't necessarily need those type of figures to be quote unquote wealthy. A very smart man a number of years ago who was in the insurance business said to me, he said, look, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And that made a lot of sense to me back then, Keith. And let me give you one other. Many years ago, when I was a college student, I worked as a electrician's helper. And my father, electrician, uncles, family all in the electrical business back in New Jersey. And one night, one of the contractor's grandsons, who had become a friend of mine, we were about the same age, he was a couple years older, he invited me to his home for dinner. And I'll never forget this, and I've shared this with you, Keith, I've shared this with some other people, and I don't think I've ever shared it on a video before of any kind, so it's a good lesson for all of us. And I remember meeting Mr. Badaracco Sr., his last name was Badaracco, and he had come from the other side, had become an electrical contractor in northern New Jersey, where I'm from, and become very successful. And his grandson took me to dinner that night at their home. And he said, hey, before we eat, let's walk down to the shop. I want to show you something. I'd never met his grandfather. His grandfather was a legend of business, by the way, in New Jersey. And we went down, and here he is, a then elderly man, about your age now, Keith. Okay. But that was older then. I mean, 70-something back then was much older than it is today. Okay. Anyway, he was sitting there, he was drinking his cappuccino, and he was going through the various boxes that had come back from the job sites that day. There were many job sites that they had the electrical contract on. And so the guys would bring the trucks back, and they would bring back boxes that had wing nuts and wire nuts and all the different little components that you have when you do electrical work. And he was going through them, and he was separating them into coffee cans. Now, this was a very, very wealthy, very, very successful man. And he said, let me give you a lesson, son. If you take care of the pennies will take care of the dollar bills. He said, that's why I'm sitting here separating this stuff. And then we had a lovely dinner and a lovely night, and a lovely family, and all of that. Great respect for the businesses that they built. They even own a bank, believe it or not, today in New Jersey. And that's how successful their family became. And, successful immigrants from the other side came, worked their butts off, and did everything right, worked hard, and achieved. But I'll never forget that lesson that he gave me. Because to that point, those nickels and dimes to him probably meant nothing at his age and his stage of life. But he understood the values that he was imparting on his grandson, who ultimately would run that business. I don't know if he still is today. He might be retired. I don't know. I haven't kept up with him. But my point is, it stuck with me. And there's so many lessons like that. Well, let's come back to direct selling being your way to wealth. I have friends in this industry. Some of the top paid people in the history of network marketing are personal friends of mine, guys that I've known, guys who helped start companies that get very, very large. For example, I could name. But without name dropping, I can tell you, some of them kept their money. Many did not. Now take the distributor that's in a company like Immunotech. Good, solid company. Not the sexiest company. Let's face it. We're not sexy. We're not, nothing sexy about us, but we're solid and we're real. And when I look at network marketing, I'll give you another good example of this, Keith. I was at an event a number of years ago here in Dallas, and I was being recognized by the folks at Video Plus for having, I don't want to say it here for FTC and compliance reasons, but a certain amount of money that I had earned in the industry, along with people like my friend Jeff Roberti and Dan McCormick and some of the other guys whose names I, from time to time, will mention on these calls. And some of them are in this book, by the way. So you should buy the book, read their story. You should listen to my Leaving Nothing to Chance podcast, because you'll hear a lot of these guys interviewed. But anyway, so we were at this event, and I forget who else was standing with us, or a couple of other guys here locally in Dallas that had qualified for this thing too. And it was an industry event. It was beautiful at the W Hotel, I think it was, here in Dallas. And all of a sudden, there's about, I don't know, 15 or 16 of us in this room having a drink before the event would start. And all of a sudden, about 8 or 9 guys come in. And I looked at Jeff Roberti, and I looked at Dan McCormick, and I looked at some of my other friends, and I said, who are those guys? And they just shrugged their shoulders. We don't know. I didn't know who they were. Well, it turned out that they had been with an insurance company in the industry that's still in business. Okay, I don't like to name companies outside of ours on these type of things, but some of you know who they are. Okay, they've been in business a long time. They've been extremely successful. But it made a point, and it illustrated a point to me. We did not know who these guys were. And yet they were at the same income level, and probably higher, frankly, than most of us were, certainly than I was. Okay, there were some really top achievers from that company that were there that night. And here's the point. They understand that direct selling, okay, was their way to personal wealth. Okay. They didn't jump around from company to company to company. They weren't in 6 companies at the same time. They put their flag in the ground and they said, I'm going to build XYZ. And they did. And to their credit, and most of them, I assume they're all still alive. They're all still making money today. Those are the hitters in network marketing. This whole thing about gurus in network marketing and all these guys that leave this company, go to that company, everybody's going to follow them. It's a bunch of bull. It's a lie. Okay. They're broke. They're leaving one company to go to another company because they're not making it in company A. That's called reality. Okay. And they go out and they become trainers in some cases, and they become gurus in some cases, and people salute their flag until they realize that they don't even know what they're doing. The people who know what they're doing are the people who were at that event that night. Those guys who walked in the door from that other company, they know how to build a business. I can assure you, Jeff Roberti knew how to build a business. Dan McCormick knew how to build a business. Some of the guys I mentioned, they've been at their companies, like Keith and I have at Immunotech, 25 years or longer in Jeff's case. So that's the point that I want to make. Now let's talk about specifics.
Well, John, if I could, you brought up something about, the gentleman, separating the wing nuts and the wire connectors and so forth. And you think about that metaphorically in our direct sales business, okay? That's what you have when you have that person that okay? They're a value, okay? A lot of people say, well, how do you build these businesses? Who do I talk to? What do? You simply share with people of value, the people that you value, what you're doing. And you make a list of those people. People say, well, how do you make money in this? Okay, on Wednesday night we had a young lady on our product call, and she goes, well, I don't know if I can afford the product. And I said, well, it's simple. Do you think you can identify one person who would take this business seriously and can work with us? And if you can earn enough money so your product is free. And I think that's the concept of wealth, John. So here's a person needs our product, needs our Unical, okay, and has some health concerns, that we want to do. As I said today on one of the videos I put out, she wants to create her own blue zone, okay, where people live longer. So create your own, okay, create your own blue zone. And the point was, so how do you do it? And I think so often when people look at this, get wealthy. What does it mean, wealthy? Here's what wealthy means. Okay, that you got enough money to pay your bills, You got enough money to help the people around you that need help. And, you've got more money than mine. That's wealth, okay? Whatever that happens to be. But once again, coming back and understanding the real wealth is your people, the people that you value and the people that value you. And then from there, you're going to build your business, because we all see these people that go out and they say, oh, get a sign and put a sign on your car, okay, and run around and put flyers on windows, okay. Well, that's a whole bunch of busy work, okay. Does it work a little bit? Yeah, it works a little bit. But, the ideal, have you talked to the people that you care about? Have you talked to the people that care about you first? And I think that that's one of the things that people are going to get when they read the book, The Moving Up 2020, is some of these very, very fundamentals of value and what value means. And that's, so when you were talking about the wire connectors and the wing nuts, as
Well,
value.
I imagine that old farmer with your last name that raised you was probably the same way, Keith.
Very much.
Okay, because they understand business. And if you understand business, your business is your business. Okay. So we broke it down in the book here. And once again, we'd encourage you to read it and take notes. Okay. Read it with a highlighter, take notes. But we talked about certain groups of people, seniors, for example. Senior citizens are the largest financial group now in the United States and Canada. They've got more discretionary money than all these Gen Xers and Gen Ysers and all these other categories of people. Now, that's not bad. We want those people too, okay? But don't say, hey, Uncle Bob here, he's retired, so I don't want to bother him. Or my next door neighbor, he's an older gentleman or an older couple or an older lady. I don't want to bother. I don't think they'd be interested. First of all, we have a product category that they're going to be extremely interested in. That's number one. Our product really fits that equation. But here's the other thing. Most of them are on fixed incomes. Now, what's happened over the last couple of years here, right? Between COVID and inflation and, frankly, lack of direction, okay, in government, in both the United States and Canada, we've wound up with a mess financially. Will it turn around? I don't know. Here's what I do know. That person who's on that fixed income, in other words, they retired. Let's just create a couple here, Keith. They were both school teachers, right? A lot of school teachers are married to other school teachers, and they retired from the school district wherever you live. And you look at them and you say they're doing well. They have 2 nice cars. We know they take a couple nice trips per year. They go to see their grandkids. He plays golf every Wednesday. She plays mahjong every Tuesday night. They got a nice life. And all of a sudden, all this stuff happens. Mm-hmm. Well, all of a sudden, that fixed income does not allow them to do the other things they want to do. Maybe it's tied to their church. Maybe it's support the local little league. Maybe it's whatever. Everybody's got something that's dear to their heart. And all of a sudden, you knock on their door, tell them about Immunicap, tell them about Immunitech as a business. And all of a sudden, they're able to get in and make, they don't have to go out and make huge money. They get in and they make themselves an extra couple $1,000s per month. And it takes them a couple of years to do it. And it gives them something else to be involved with. They got tremendous credibility. They were school teachers in your community. They know a lot of people. They educated a lot of people's kids. They educated a lot of kids who are now adults, okay, as an example, all right? That's one example I'll throw out there. How about athletes, okay? Boy, I can tell you about athletes. It's my world, okay, for many years. Most of them are broke, okay? Now, if you're, the kid who just signed with the Yankees here, Judge, for $360 million. Okay, he's okay. He might use the product. He probably isn't going to build a business. Okay, but what about the guy who wanted to get to that level and never got there? What about the guy like my buddy Tim that played with the Green Bay Packers a number of years ago, who unfortunately he got in the league at a time where linemen didn't make a lot of money. Okay, had to have a conventional job afterwards for all these years, still working for a living. Okay, just missed it. Born 10 years later. Wealthy man. Born 10 years earlier, made a good living. Okay. Oh, by the way, and got pretty beat up. Okay, as a result. Athletes are a perfect example. Active athletes, are always funding something, by the way. Their next event. Okay. I got an event coming up in Houston in the end of January. I got one coming up in Arkansas in February. I got another one coming up in March. All those things cost money. I can tell you, even at this stage of my life and my career, when I go to these things, it costs me $1,000 for a weekend. Go away, hotel, gas, entry fees, food, blah, blah, blah. Before you know, you spend $1,000. Okay. Well, if you want to do stuff out of town, now what if you want to do stuff in town? There's all those entry fees. What about coaching fees? What about your gym fees or your whatever, depending on what the sport is? You know, people who are into sports that have equipment. Okay, cyclists, for example, a good bike, thousands of dollars. Okay, repairs, hundreds of dollars, maintenance, hundreds of dollars. Okay, and I could use example after example, but you get the idea, right? The athletic community, gee whiz, now we have sport. Wow, what a great segue. Hey, let me show you how to sell sport and fund your next event or your next activity or your next bike or your next whatever it happens to be. Okay. So we can go on and on, Keith, but let me throw it back at you here for your thoughts.
Because we're looking at this point, and people are saying, well, what is our target market? Okay. Well, yesterday we had one of my distributors had a meeting, and there's a young gal that's 24 years old, and she's in the boxing world. Okay. Well, one of the things that they're always concerned about is micro concussions. Okay. Well, with our brain study, they need to be on Immunicap. Well, her coach and manager was a world champion boxer. Okay, fought on the same card in Las Vegas as Muhammad Ali. But so there's that group of people. But coming to these senior citizens, okay, think about this. There's somewhere between 9,500 and 10,000 people turning 65 every single day. Now let's extrapolate this out a little bit. Okay, let's expand our imagination. So if we look at between 55 and 65, and we figure let's say that there's 8,000 people in each one of those age groups having a birthday today. Okay, that's 80,000 people that need to know about our product on their birthday today. 80,000 of them. Okay, the good news is they can afford our product. The better news is they'll understand our product. And most importantly, they need Immunical Platinum Sport, the Serenity, all the other things that we have, John. So there's a huge market of people here, okay, that we just need to look at and understand that this is something we can do, and a group of people to talk to. Now, how do you talk to them? You talk to them at where they're at. If they've got aches and pains, talk to them where they're at. If they're looking how they help their grandchildren and children and their church and other things like that, then you want to go ahead and reach out and talk about the business. But you want to do a balanced approach. Okay, what I refer to as a 60-40. 60% business, 40% product. Now, why do I say 60% business and 40% product? Because if you try to hit that market, you may or may not, end up with a balance of 50-50. But if you say, well, I'm going to tell them primarily about the product, you'll forget to tell them about the business. But the business is important. Okay, it's like you always say, money is not important as long as you've got it. Okay, money is not important as long as you've got it. It's when you don't have it, it becomes right up there with air. Okay, particularly the people that you owe it to them, it's right up there with air as to how important it is. So take a look at this, and take a look at the senior citizens, take a look at the athletes, take a look at the people that you care about. But most importantly, when you're going through the book and you're reading these articles and think about this, who are the people you like? Who are the people you trust? Who are the people that like you and trust you? Because see, once you have that on the table, you've got that down, and you're talking with one of the people here at Immunitech, and you're upline and you're working with that. The only unknown right then is whether the timing is right for them to evaluate our product and evaluate our business opportunity, John. It's just that we're just back at that simple, and that's where we're at. And you are muted.
I'm actually trying to grab a special outside speaker who's actually just walked through my office here, who I want to show people. But let's talk about entertainers for a second. Okay, what about entertainers? How about people who are trying to be whatever, actors, actresses, pianists? Okay, I lived in Los Angeles for a time a number of years ago. Every other person that waited at a table, what were they waiting for? Their big break. Some of them actually got it. Most of them figured out how to do something else for a living. Okay, so that's what another thing to fun. But I want to bring my son here for a second. He has no idea why.
Yeah, I literally don't know why.
Okay. And I'm gonna just give him the headset for a second. Okay, Keith, what I'd like you to ask him about is being a college student and building a network marketing business as a part-time income while you're in school. So, hopefully we'll get a little bit, because this is an actual college student. My son's 18. Okay, he's in college. He's a freshman in college. Okay, and he's working in the business with us. Okay, and he's having some really good success. Okay, but I just want him to, Keith will ask him a couple of questions, and this is an actual college student, real one. Okay, so in the book we're talking about theoretical people. This is an actual human being. His name's Fred. Put my headset on. Keith will ask you a couple questions.
Well, you don't want to let me sit in the big chair or something?
You want to sit in the big chair?
Yeah, he's in the big chair.
Oh, he's really ready to take over. He's sitting in the big chair.
Yeah,
I tell you what, things just got a whole lot better here.
Okay, here.
They just got a lot better. Okay. All kinds of improvements just occurred here, Fred. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So why would somebody in their, starting in their college years and heading out into the world, why would they want to look at direct sales network marketing?
Well, the way that I do it may be a little bit different from the way that you and my dad do it. I do it through Google advertising as opposed to say go out there.
I understand the how, okay, but I want to know the why.
Well, one thing I was always concerned about in a high school, at least now I'm in college and all that, I have kind of this plan set out with direct selling, at least, is that I don't really have to worry about it nearly as much. But when I was in high school, I was kind of thinking, I was in the senior year. I was thinking, it's like, man, what do I want to do with my life? I thought for a little bit, I wanted to be a mechanic. I went and I worked at a mechanic shop over the summer. And I'm going to be honest with you, like while the shop environment and everything was great, it was pretty bad. It was hotter than an oven. It was smelly, and I was dirty the whole time. So, and I thought to myself, whenever I got in college, I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. I'm definitely not doing that. And that's kind of when I came to what my dad does, direct selling. And while it's definitely not, I don't think it'd be the first thing I definitely pick. I'd say that it's honestly pretty great for a college student. Like I can't complain.
So it's about identifying something you want to do but how important is it to really understand what this business is about?
Well, to even do it in the first place, you got to understand it, because how to describe this? Because I think you could probably give a better description. But from what I understand about direct selling right now, at least, is that you're not just giving yourself the platform for success, which is what these companies are, i.e., your Mutatex, your whatever it might be. You're not just giving yourself the platform for success. You're giving other people a potential platform for success as well. Like for example, I think one big thing in direct selling, at least, is downlines. I know that's a huge thing. I've had people that are in my Mutech downline that have done crazy things with the Mutech, at least, and it's great to see, because I think I did do a little bit of studying from what am I thinking of? There was somebody I saw on the internet. I think it was on like TikTok or something. I don't know, where they said that they got out of Bugatti, first of all, so I think that kind of warrants their opinion a little bit. They got out of Bugatti, and somebody asked them, it's like, oh, hey, nice car. What do you do for a living? And apparently the guy was one of the old CEOs of Apple, or one of the old shareholders at least. And he said that it's like, in order to be successful, like really successful, as in, be able to afford things that cost millions and millions of dollars, you have to give others a platform for success.
That's great, Fred. That's great. I hope everybody picks something up. And I know that, there's at least one author on this book, Moving Up 2020. Okay, me. But anyway, I mean, how important is it? You're there, you're with your dad every day, and you assimilate this stuff. But somebody for $20 or whatever it is goes to and buys the book. How important is it to read books?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm definitely less of like a book reader, more like a video watcher, just because it's kind of what my generation does now. But I'd say to assimilate information that others have gathered is important, because we only live for so long, right? So we're gonna make mistakes throughout our lifetime, but we're not gonna make all of the mistakes. Like the mistakes that, I don't know where my dad went, he's like back there, but the mistakes that my dad has made are mistakes that I may never make. So to understand the mistakes he did make and to learn from them is what is kind of more important than just kind of looking at it at face value. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's a great way to explain it. But
well, it is, Fred. I mean, it's like there's a statement, the cemetery is full of essential people.
Yeah.
But the idea of being able to build a business and have some control of your own life at your age, great job. Your dad fills me in on all the things that you're doing, and that's absolutely amazing. So thank you for taking a few minutes to be here with us on this chapter 3 of Moving Up 2020. Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, sure. Hey, no worries.
Very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Here, I'm gonna give it back to the old man himself.
Okay, okay, good job.
Yeah.
Well, well, I took him away from food.
Okay, well, we'll let him get back to food. We're going to let you get back to. We're going to let you get there, John, as well.
But
I think everybody here.
But let me just make a quick point, okay? I mean, okay, that's my kid. He grew up watching me do what I do, okay? He's doing things completely different than how I did them, because he's Gen. I think they call this Gen Y or Gen X. I'm not even sure what they call this thing. He's 18 years old, so whatever that is, okay? But here's the point. Go to the book, because there's guys like Fred. Fred's building a business, okay? Fred might be making more than a lot of people listening to this right now. And not because I did it for him, folks, because I can assure you, I have not done a thing, okay? I helped him financially to get started, okay? But I have not put people underneath them. I haven't moved a downline, all the other stuff, okay, that you hear about in network marketing, people do in their family sometimes. I didn't do any of that. Okay. Matter of fact, he only started in August. I wasn't even wild about him starting because school was starting at the same time. But he said, well, Dad, I need to do something to generate some money. And I'm thinking, well, okay, well, he's done that. Okay. He's not making a fortune. But for his age, he's making more than he could going and standing on his feet, working for somebody else on a time clock, because it lets him do what he needs to do, which is his school and his sports training. So anyway, that's just a real life example.
We need to shut this. We need to go ahead and invite people next week. We're going to be into chapter 4. Okay, fair day's work for fair day's pay. Okay, so I want to invite all of you to come back. This will be coming out on Sunday night, as always, Monday morning. Take advantage of that. You put that. Once again, down below the video is a link in order to be able to get this book. Have a great day.